Hi, my name's Michael, and today I want to talk to you about the book that I wish won the Man Booker International Prize. I am pleased that The Vegetarian by Lianke won, but I really wanted the four books by Lianke to win, and this is a book translated from Chinese by Carlos Rojas. And the reason why I wanted the four books to win, because I think this one was a far better book. I think it's far more interesting. This is basically a story of life in a labour camp. There are a few different people that are put into this labour camp to rehabilitate them. They are all known by their occupation. You've got the author, the musician, the scholar, the theologian, and the kid is actually the person in charge of it. And this is interesting. It kind of reminds me of Alexander Solzhenitsyn's book dealing with Russian labour camps, but this one is about Chinese labour camps. And this was done during the Great Leap Forward, which was a time in history where Chairman Mao decided he wanted to push China forward economically, and he wanted to boost the economics of China by forcing people to labour and focusing on building and really focusing on the industry, while the Great Leap Forward was a big failure and it kind of led to the Cultural Revolution. I think this was an interesting book to kind of get an insight of what might have happened during the labour camps, but there is so much more going on with this book, and I think it's really fascinating to explore. Starting with the title of the book, The Four Books, is an interesting one because the four books refer to the four sacred texts of Confucianism, and if you look at Christianity, you've got the four books of the four Gospels, and if you look at Islam, you've got the Hidat, which are considered four sacred texts. So you're kind of exploring religion in a really interesting way. I like how it does explore the different types of religion and a character within the book that finds a Bible. You've got a few other things going on within the book, which really makes an interesting exploration into theology and into what it might have been like living during the Great Leap Forward and been working in the labour camp. And there's so much going on. But the four books that actually are referenced in this is actually the four different books being written throughout the story. You've got the criminal records, which is basically the kid has asked the author to write an account of what's happening within the labour camp. And you've got old courses, which is basically the author's actual accounts, not the censored accounts of what's actually happening within the labour camp. And you've got this book called Heaven's Child, which is the author of it is unknown. It's a manuscript about a story of labour camp, and it kind of invokes Christianity and Chinese mythology within it, and it plays an interesting role in the book as well. And finally, you got A New Myth of Sisyphus, which is a manuscript being worked on by the scholar, I believe, and it is comparing life with the myth of Sisyphus and how God has punished him by making him push the rock up the mountain, and when that became a bit easy, he was made to push the rock back down, and how this idea of being comfortable in the labour and not complaining, because if you complain or you find a way to make it look like it's easy, the punishment may change and then you're stuck all over again with a whole new set of punishments. And this becomes a key idea of why people just accept their role in the labour camp, because they're used to it and they've managed to work out a way to accept their punishment and to be able to do their job without it becoming so psychologically or traumatizing to them. And the whole idea of not complaining or saying anything but still maintaining this idea that this is still a punishment becomes key, because if they change up their punishment, it might break them. And that becomes a really interesting way to explore the book, and I like how the four different books tells something slightly different and you get a whole idea of what's going on within the story. And it makes for this wonderful insight and a fascinating exploration into Chinese literature and what was going on within China. And this is why I really love this book. I think it has so much going on for it, and I think it really, really is something worth exploring, especially if you're interested in theology, which I am. Lianke won the Franz Kafka Award, which is an award that's given to an entire body of work, and I think it's an interesting award to read because Lianke has not seen success in his country for his books. He has to smuggle them to Hong Kong, which has this whole different set of laws and set of rules to mainland China. So he never really knows that his books are successful, but he manages to write these books and get them to Hong Kong, and then they go on to be published, which is an interesting comparison to Franz Kafka, who never saw success and he wanted his works destroyed because he didn't want anyone to read them. Luckily, we have some of his works. But I found it fascinating that the two have some similarities with their life, with not knowing real success and the real value of their work, and how influential and philosophical and important their works can be to the people that are interested in these topics and to the world. It gives us a whole insight into the world. With Franz Kafka, we've got so many insights in theology, and I think his works are so important. With Lianke, we'll get some insights into what's happening in China, and he's managed to get through the censorship by sending his books to Hong Kong to get published, and both never knowing real success and really knowing just how it affects the people that read their book is so interesting. And I think I would recommend the 4 books, and I definitely want to read more of his books because they sound so interesting, and I like the theology, I like the psychological, I like the philosophy behind them. So I'm glad this book was nominated for the Man Booker International Prize because it got me to read it, and I hope it gets other people to read it. And I just wanted to do a review on this book because I think it's important to talk about books like this. If you want to find me elsewhere, all my links to social media are in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching.